What's up, guys? Turbo Man 351 here, and I guess you could say this is a part 2 to the Holley intermittently shutting off and turning back on when you turn the key to the off position and to the run. So just a heads up, guys, this is another thing that I found that also might help you. So all you Fox body owners out there normally will grab your 12-volt signal right here from the stock harness that comes out of your fuse box underneath the dash. That's what this is here, okay? These two harnesses here that come out here on the firewall and into the engine bay, these go directly to the fuse box, okay? And most guys, in the Holley, it says to grab the red and white striped wire for your 12-volt source. Now, listen very carefully. If you're like me, and you run gauges, and you run certain other things in the car, okay? And you're trying to power those gauges, right, through your fuse box down here, and you're trying to turn your lights on here so that these light up and what have you, and on the dash, okay? And underneath here, I've tapped in, to where the heater switch was, because I'm not running a heater, obviously. I'm not running AC, and so I tapped into those circuits to power other certain things. Now, what has happened is that that's robbing power from the fuse box here down below, and that 12-volt signal keeps dropping because I guess there's too much current on the fuse box relay down here underneath the car, underneath the dash. And that's why it was intermittently shutting off, because it was like in between of the 12 volts that it needs to see and like 11.5, then it would jerk back up to 12, and you know, it was just fluctuating. And the car seemed to run a little tricky and weird because the box was either trying to shut off or trying to stay on in between that. So a little tricky to the Holley, trying to get that signal solid. So what did I do? I just came up here, dude, and what I did, I had my fog lights on. I call them the middle finger lights because when I turn them on at night, everybody gives me the finger, or, you know, because they're so bright, and for some reason they're aimed up right at the, you know, the eyes of cars oncoming. And I got halogen LED lights. I got the built-in fans, and when I just turn these on regular, it blinds everybody. So it's a lose-lose. So I disconnected those down there, took the power source, because I have a relay for those, and I ran it right to the coil in the box. And this white wire here comes off the distributor, which needs to see that signal, okay, goes right to the ignition box, the 6AL, which is right there. All right, so basically what you're doing, you're turning on the coil, you're turning on the ignition box to tell it to run, and it's all good to go. Now, that's what a lot of NASCAR drivers do. If you ever see them when they're in the car, and you'll see, like in the old school days, you'll see two 6AL boxes on the dash. And there's two switches there. And what they'll do, they can immediately switch to another ignition system by the flick of a switch if one fails or goes bad. Okay? That's exactly what I've done here. It's the same thing. And so what I've done, okay, just like in NASCAR or any like a race car thing, you know, you just come in, boom, ignition on. Okay, and it's basically what this, obviously this panel's meant to do, right? But I've been doing it from the key instead, and the only thing I don't have hooked up is the push button start, which is okay. I've just been using it through the column, but until that fails. But I got a new key ignition, new column thing, so that shouldn't fail, but just in case, okay? And that's how I fixed it, guys. After all that searching and trying to track the thing down, there you go. Okay, now this drove me nuts, guys. I thought it was the distributor. It wasn't. I yanked the other one out, put a new one in. I even cut the harness clip off from the Holley and put the Ford one on. I actually soldered this in to the Holley harness here and cut the Holley clip off and put the Ford one on from its harness. I did that. I chased every wire. It wasn't it. Jiggle, moved wires around, did all that, dude. Wasn't the problem. It was just the 12-volt source, man. That's it, okay? And another way I found out, obviously, is that when I kicked the fans on, it was not even like seconds later it would shut off. So it was definitely robbing the power. So another heads up, it's like on these Fox bodies, guys, the, you know, the wiring, I mean, hands down, it's 30 years old, already old. So that just tells you one thing there. If you can separate the Holley and the ignition system away from any power source from the car, okay, or anything, and just go completely standalone on the ignition in the Holley, you're good to go. You're good. Turn the Holley on through a switch, the ECU and everything through a relay, straight to the battery. Turn the ignition on through another switch, through a relay, straight to the battery, and you'll be good to go, man. Okay, I have a 200 amp alternator, which is a good one because you're running fuel injection, you're running fuel pumps, you're running a high output 6AL box. Okay, and you got to think about that, dude. You got all these electronics that are running, so it's good to have a good high output alternator and a good battery. Okay, just a heads up, just a thought. Okay, so if you're out there and you're trying to figure out why it cuts off and cuts on, that's what it is. Okay, nothing wrong with the distributor, guys. Nothing. Okay, the TFI is an okay distributor. Yeah, it's old. Yeah, the dual sync is absolutely way better, and I would suggest that over this any day. And so yeah, all right, guys, here's a quick little tit right there, tat, just to let you know. Thanks for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Peace.